Oh, is there a new Zelda? Oh, okay. I did not know this. Hi, Tyler. All right, are we good to begin?
And we are still.
Hi, guys.
There's. And we're good.
All right. So this is the Finance Committee meeting on August 15th at 9 a.m. Calling this meeting to order, and we have Dana and, Trustee Cranker and Trustee George present, and Trustee Harper is not going to be able to make it today.
I know that we voted on being able to call us by our first names.
I know. No worries. Sorry, it's so programmed. All right, so we'll start off. Our first item of business is our sales tax. And there is a packet available online on our Google Drive if anyone would like to follow along. So we received our sales tax numbers back from June. Again, as you see these numbers, you'll see it's collected in August, but this is for the month of June at $163,532. This is down from last year, from 2021, 14%. But as we keep reiterating that we aren't comparing it really to last year, we're comparing it to 2019 numbers. So we are still significantly ahead with the 2019 numbers. Do you have any questions on the sales tax report?
Do we have any ability to adjust for inflation?
In the sales tax reports?
Yeah.
How so? How would you like to see that?
Well,
I think-
economists will often present, well, this is adjusted for inflation or not adjusted for inflation.
Mhm.
I think that gets, like, they do that using like adjusted for inflation or the consumer price index. But I mean, I think that could be useful for like, comparing things like 50 years ago to now, but I'm not sure that doing it over the past 5 years is going to be very helpful. I mean, I think that everybody knows they can afford less with what they make per dollar right now. But we can't just say, well, we need to make 10% more money because there's 10% inflation. I just don't think there's
Sure. Yeah.
There will be a comment on inflation as we go through our actuals, our July actuals at the end there. Because there has been a couple of areas where we definitely had spent more than we thought we would on, especially for our mag chloride and some other products that have to be hauled here. So like thinking about gas prices and inflation.
Yeah.
Great point. Okay, so we'll move on to our past due accounts, our delinquent accounts. There was a committee agenda memo. Basically
Pause for a second. Where was the packet? I'm not seeing it.
Did you not get the packet? Oh, no. Okay.
Looking. So should I just go on to Google?
Yeah, so on our, I can send it to you real quick too.
If I can.
Tyler, do you have the packet?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll just send this to you then.
Thank you.
And all right. So I'll go over this one a little bit more in depth.
Thank you.
Or do you want to talk about this one, Matt?
Yeah, so the certifying the delinquent accounts is something that used to happen pretty much regularly. Basically, when the county has its annual tax sale, the county treasurer asks if there's any delinquent accounts we want to basically write off of our accounts and have the county act as collections through the tax sale. And at that point, there is a lien put on the property and they have to pay the county for basically unpaid tax, the same way they pay unpaid property taxes. It's basically treated the same way as the unpaid property tax and the tax sale kind of thing. And then at the near the end of December, the county writes a check to the town for the accounts that we wrote off minus treasurer's fees. And so that's usually how municipalities go about getting their money back on unpaid utility counts.
So it's mainly utility counts.
Yes, this will be for utility counts, water, sewer, trash bills.
Okay.
And so in looking at all this, we didn't find any kind of like resolution that's been done as far as a policy surrounding this, like if it's 10 months behind on payments, we put that in the memo as like 10 months behind, but we don't have any like formal resolution set. So we're asking that to bring a resolution and procedure to the Board of Trustees for approval. And then we'll go forward with identifying these accounts. But I think the real big question here is if we want to do, like it is 10 months behind is our recommendation basically. And if that seems fair to you all for a delinquent account. Okay. Does that seem good to you? Okay, great. So what we'll do is.
And will people be getting multiple reminders and notices
And that's where we can draft those procedures as well and how we will notify them, just basically coming up with this.
a structure, organizational structure?
Yes.
Really, I'm really surprised that we don't have a procedure. It's really important that we have one, especially if we're gonna.
I think we've had one in the past. It just hasn't been, approved by the board and very formal. So we're just formalizing this process.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That's great.
Cool.
I think too, making sure, obviously we'll talk about this as a whole board, but like making sure that as we communicate it to residents, the town is really happy to work with you. Like just making sure people know how they can help take care of this if it's a problem.
Right.
The certifying it as a delinquent account and then sending to the county is basically what happens if we don't hear from the delinquent account holder.
Ever.
Otherwise, if they come in and be like, hey, can I do like a payment plan where I just like pay off what I should pay like every month until it's caught up? That's, that's what we try to go for.
I figure that's the policy, I think, or the intent, just making sure that that's what we communicate, that the messaging around that. is
Mhm.
That the people don't also think the town's getting really serious about everything.
Just trying to formalize everything. So in the future, if, we get hit by buses, then everything is covered. My old boss used to say that. I thought it was the most morbid thing. But she would always be like, I need standard operating procedures in case you get hit by a bus, Gloria. So that's where we're at. Okay, any more questions on our delinquent accounts? All right. Moving on to Department of Revenue reports. So I had reached out to Brandon. I did another training, and this is to go on the Department of Revenue site and break down our sales tax. Right now, so Willie has done this in the past, but what he's done is he's taken this little asterisk that says remote versus local, and he understood that, like it wasn't completely. I'm just really nervous putting any kind of information out there that I don't feel is completely accurate. But he did it to try and give an idea of, local versus remote. And that's pretty much the only way you can do it, because there's over 11,000 accounts now with online sales that happen. So it would have to be going through 11,000 accounts to make sure they're in town, out of town. It's pretty arduous. What I would like to do, and I spent a couple hours on this the other day, was to break it out kind of like the town of Uray had, where I think I presented that to you guys at one point, where they had like a pie chart, and this much came from retail and this much came from restaurants and this much came from lodging. So to do that does take quite a bit of time. It took me about 2 hours to get just a basic one, and it didn't even break out retail or lodging from restaurants. So it would probably take a little bit more time to try and dive into that one again. So when I have the capacity, I would love to do that. It's just a capacity issue at this point. But I was able to work on it over COVID when I had COVID, and just play around with it, something that kind of kept my mind busy. But realizing that it took 2 hours just to get like a conceptual report was a big shocker, because I thought maybe I could just kind of knock it out. So I included his note in here back to me on like basically how the issues with reporting and how to report accurate sales tax. I'm happy to do the remote versus local, with the understanding that remote doesn't always mean what we think it means.
Your point earlier was Amazon is classified as a local.
Yes, Amazon's classified as local because they have a distribution center in Colorado. So just really, really kind of, yeah, it just doesn't seem like accurate information to put out there if I were to do that, but still working on that one. That one's probably going to be ongoing for a while, but just kind of wanted to give you guys an update.
Thank you.
Any questions? Okay. All right, and then next, going into future capital outlay. So I'm still researching every budget item. I know I did that last year and I'm still doing it this year because it's a lot to digest. But this committed to future capital outlay was established. We don't know when it was established. I'm still trying to find a resolution or something. Typically, if you commit something to future capital, you have a resolution saying what that future capital is. We cannot find anything that's of the establishment of this future capital outlay. And talking to Christine, and she's been our accountant for quite a while now. She said the last time the town contributed to this GL code was in 2017. But we haven't contributed since, and we can't find any kind of resolution that established it. So it's interesting thinking there's currently $25,000 in this line item. That's just kind of sitting there without any kind of allocation. So we were hoping to get direction on how this money could be allocated. And then a suggestion we had was reestablishing the fund as the general fund's line item for capital improvements, and then identifying those capital improvements with our community outreach to try and prioritize those projects. I have been looking through, so taking on what the trustees have prioritized. I took that on, I looked at all the plans, I identified like 2 projects from each plan that we could present to the community on their prioritization in the next 5 years. And what they would like to see from those plans in the next 5 years. So it kind of gives them a little bit of a parameters to vote from in their prioritization. And then from there, we could dedicate funding through this line item. Any questions on that?
So the thought is, let me think, yeah. So when you're talking about the citizen engagement effort around budgeting, it would be limited, it would be limited to what we would think about paying for with the capital improvements program.
Right.
Right. And it would include options within some of our existing plans, trails plans,
Right.
Blair Street plans,
Animas River Corridor, Wayfinding Master Plan, Mullis Lake Master Plan, and Kendall Master Plan. Pretty much all of those that we had identified in like getting these plans moved forward.
Yeah.
And so then the way they'll be presented is like, you know, if you want to vote for this one or this one, like where do we want to spend our money? Keeping in those parameters of the plans that we already have.
Yeah. Yeah, we're not introducing new things. We're sticking with the planning we've already done.
Right.
And here are some specific projects. So would we be talking about funding different plans or talking about like, here's a project within this plan. Here's a bridge that's part of the Animas River Trail project. Here's some signage that's part of the.
Yeah, so
here's a hockey rink that's part of Kendall or something.
so like, so the projects I have right now, and these are totally just stuff that I've like jotted down. There are 8 projects. First one's entrance signs, second one's street signs. Mullis Lake Lodge is another one identified in there. Silverton Perimeter Trail, Urban Trail Network, reuse the old town dump as open space, Alpine ski expansion at Kendall, and improve ice rink at Kendall. So those are like the 8 that I had kind of identified in our current plans that we seem to be moving forward to, that have been also identified in our master plan, as well as your priorities. So trying to kind of, yeah, I'm just trying to, what fits all these boxes of our master plan, your priorities, and what's that, Tyler?
I guess, so this is like a $25,000 head start because we can't figure out if this was never budgeted to any other project. So,
Right, we can't find where it was allocated to.
Okay.
And so we would do like a resolution stating that this fund is allocated towards our capital improvements general fund. And then from there, we'll identify these specific, hopefully there's 3 that we get out of it, or 2. And then citizens can either vote to fund in 2023, 2024, 2025, so they can put their money in one of those boxes.
Mhm.
Not just, I want to fund it like next year, I want to fund it in 3 years or something like
So
that.
someone could say a priority to me is to have an entrance sign next year and skating at Kendall in
Correct.
2 years. Yeah,
Right.
okay, I like that approach, that it gives people an option to have priorities and timelines.
Mhm. Okay,
yeah, absolutely. That's a great idea. Sorry, I have to keep muting because I've got 2 dogs here that are kind of going crazy in the background. So we'll just.
totally fair.
We'll just watch you nodding or shaking or waving your hand.
You'll see me pointing and being like, shh, please be quiet.
And so I'll vet these final, and I wanted to vet them with you, basically, these projects, and then, I'm considering probably needing to vet them with the whole board as well, and just being like, these are the approved projects to have the citizens vote over the 5 years, on what they would like to see executed.
I really love this because I mean, again, we're communicating in such a way that it's like, it's not guaranteed that what everybody votes for, like we have to consider it. These are the suggestions from the community, but it really forces all of us as community members to rank and prioritize, because we can't do it all. We can do a lot of things. I mean, you and Beth are getting money for a lot of things, but we can't do it all. And I really like how it takes the master plan, it takes plans we already have, because we're really good at getting plans, and says, how do we as a community actually want to spend the resources we have? And so, question with the funding, if we turn this line item in the budget to capital improvements program, would we be funding it in addition to the 25,000?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we would be allocating funding towards those projects, but we wouldn't know what the projects were until after they were picked by the
Right.
community, basically.
Right.
So then we would have to, and this really helps us too, in like, we get inundated with grant opportunities.
Right.
And like, yeah, we could just frantically apply for all of them, which is what we've been doing, to be
Yeah.
completely honest. Or we could be like, okay, let's go after money for this specific project. Let's find this money. Like, let's be a little bit more intentional in how we're going to apply and receive grants.
Yeah. I love it.
And then, so we have rescheduled that citizen engagement night. I think I'm going to call it an open house, town hall open house, if that makes sense. I was thinking state of the town, but that just seems way too informal, or too formal. So I was thinking maybe like an open house, town hall open house, basically. And then that'll be on September 14th now. So we've kind of rearranged our schedule a little bit so that we can accommodate it on the 14th. Now that I'm back and getting into it all.
And I think, again, making sure we're clear in our communication about the open house, that like, this is, where do you want to spend your dollar? Not Wheel of Fortune or something, but like, where do you want to spend your money? What are your priorities?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll give kind of a short overview of the town, kind of like I did for you all in your retreat. And then we'll open it up in the atrium for voting, or for like a month, basically. So people can stop by town hall and vote.
Yeah.
And they can vote that night too. And that'll just give you guys some more information on how to help us prioritize all these big plans and projects that we have going on.
Exciting.
Cool.
Right. Maybe too, it would be nice to maybe connect with the school and see if there were options for, I don't know, middle school to come over, high school to come over,
Right.
right? Like,
Yeah.
be intentional about maybe getting some of the youth to come and have a voice.
Yeah, I love that. And get their votes in too and participate in the public process.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. All right, any more questions on future capital outlay or our citizen engagement? Okay. And then audit update, we did have to file an extension. We are on track to meet that extension. This has been, 2021 was quite a year to switch auditors. I'm regretting doing that because we did have three different administrators. If you count Anthony as the interim and a budget that I didn't have any kind of background on. So it's been pretty difficult for Matt and I to try and trace down a lot of these asks. And I think they're a lot more thorough than our last auditor, because like the information we had set aside for audit, it's way above and beyond that. I think it's because our first time with this new company. So it's been a full-on experience.
Yeah.
This audit this year.
A lot more research than I expect in an audit, but
Yeah.
I feel like changing over, it's good. It's kind of like we're starting with a clean slate and new auditors going through everything. That way they don't want to miss anything. We won't miss anything. As a new administrator, you won't miss anything. I know it's more work, but I think it may end up being a good thing. So thanks very much, you guys, for putting in the extra time.
Yeah, and we're developing better practices for next year as well. So we will be much more, we say 2023 is going to be so easy.
while I was out with COVID, I came up with a different scheme for organizing the digital invoices. That way it's a lot easier to find for the auditors. Because at least with these auditors, they'll reference just the check number, not anything about the vendor name or anything else about the check. And so I went through and just put the check number in the front of every single, so that way we can just pull it up like that from the search function.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
But it's probably more organizational infrastructure work than you're anticipating this.
Oh, so much. But it's good. It's getting us organized. It's just little things like there was never a visitor center contract adopted for 2021. Totally out of Matt and I's hands, but we have to explain this to the auditor and be like, we have the contract from 2022 and 2020. Like, can we use these, to supplement our 2021? Nope. So it's
How do you
stuff like that.
proactively?
We don't. It's just a doc.
During the-
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all during the 2020 stuff. So there's a lot of
There was a lot going on.
things that should have been done in 2020 that didn't. That just goes for the entire world. I'm not pointing fingers. It was 2020.
In a perfect world, should have done this next year, but we're getting it done this year.
Right, you're not only dealing with new staff, new administration, but also like the world that was COVID.
Yeah, we're finally tidying up the COVID world as well.
What kind of alcohol do you guys like? At the end of all this.
It's pretty intense, but we're getting it done. Matt's doing a great job too, identifying where we need to organize for next year. Because that's been one of the big things. All right, any questions on the audit? And then we have the extension letter, which you just signed, and that will all be presented to the Board of Trustees with the actual audit and before we submit that to the state. Okay. All right, and now going on, want to make sure. All right, now we're on to July actuals. Still having issues with our software system. So some of these actuals look a little funky. I'm not I don't really want to put these reports out right now because there's so much background to to these reports that I feel like we need to fix on our end. Some of it has to do, there's several line items that have to do with our communications with the payroll department and how their system is integrating with our system and how it's being reported right now. So like the deputy clerk, for example, we have been trying to get her on her line item all year and it hasn't happened. This is a larger conversation with us wanting to take over our own payroll department eventually again. With Melina on board, I really feel like we could accomplish that. But we haven't been able to kind of put the effort towards that. So we're dealing with stuff that's, like, for example, like the building and code, so some of the employees that aren't being miscoded is the building. Now, this is a new one because in other reports, they were being coded just fine. And now this new one, for some reason, they're wonky again. So building and code, deputy clerk, and events and communications. And then I'm really curious how they're going to deal with our housing coordinator, because it is Anthony Edwards. He already has a salary through being a municipal judge. And then we're adding on this, like, we have to, yeah, but we have to track all his hours for our grant. So we tried to lay it all out for them, but Matt and I don't have the confidence that they're actually going to be able to pull it off. With that said, when you see those numbers, they could be coded to a different employee mark. So we're still working on that. Another thing is we haven't transferred over administration fees yet. So typically we do that quarterly, and Christina's done that for us in the past. And I'm just really curious why she hasn't done it yet. So we might ask to take that over and be able to pull. So our administration fees are the fees that we charge our enterprise accounts, such as MOLAs, water, sewer, refuse. And the library. So we charge all those accounts an administration fee that goes back into our general fund. And so if you look at like the general funds, I think it's on page 4 of the actual document. Let's see, it's page 10, maybe page 12. I'm trying to think on this one, it's page 12 of your packet. And like those final numbers there, if we were to add in that administration fee, we'd actually be doing really well. We'd actually be at 71% of our current revenue that we've collected year to date, and we're 58% of the fiscal year.
Yeah.
So we're doing good there. There are line items here that we've gone over as far as like equipment, advertising, we've gone significantly over on, and that line item, and that was hard to avoid. And some of that needs to be separated out to the planning advertising. But a lot of that is all these positions that we've had to advertise for. And the ordinances that we've been getting in, we have to pay for those as we publish them. So we've been doing a lot of work. That's basically what that line item shows. Any questions on our actuals? And I'm hoping that our new Resource X, which I think I have an intro to them next week. And I'll have a lot more information, but I'm hoping that they can help us organize our accounts in Casella a little bit more so that we can have more accurate actuals. I would like it to really reflect our budget line items. With our budget this year, we're completely revamping the budget and putting in every line item has a separate spreadsheet now, so that you can see exactly what we budgeted for in each line item. So that'll really help us transfer over to this Resource X model and be able to be a lot more transparent in that. In the past, so what we've done is put little notes next to each line item, like, oh, we're increasing this, we're decreasing this. The ability to have each spreadsheet dedicated to each line item will really help us. And Molly, our intern, who has now left, she helped kind of put that together for me. So I just want to give her full credit for that and thank her for she put a lot of work in for us. So we're really excited that we had her for the summer. She's gone now. She's back to American University in DC. So that's all I got for y'all.
Neat.
Thank you very much. Really good work. You guys are just crushing it. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Tyler.
Thank you.
We're gonna miss you, Matt, when you're gone. I know Gloria will.
Yeah. Yeah, whenever that baby pops.
No.
I'll probably still use Zoom into meetings.
Oh,
I told him us to like,
you're gonna uninstall your email? No.
unless he needs to escape, then he can come back.
It's
But we do have a good plan with Melina and that moving forward. So Melina will be here to kind of take over while Matt's gone and we'll just be filling in so that you can welcome your new child, Isla.
oh,
Excited.
is
Any day now.
how are you spelling your name?
AYLA.
Ayla. Isla. Oh, that's pretty.
Yeah, isn't it?
Yeah. That's gonna be very,
She chose her first name and I chose the middle name, Sophia.
what's her middle name?
Sophia.
Sophia.
Isla Sophia.
Oh, that's pretty.
I know.
How's Ashley feeling? Okay.
About as good as any 9-month pregnant woman is.
Great.
Great. Well, if you all don't have anything, we can conclude our meeting. Sorry, I just like ran through that, but
Great.
No, appreciate it.
all right.
Thanks, Tyler.
Thanks, Tyler. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Tyler, real quick while you're there, I'm gonna reach out to you about cleanup day, maybe September. What do you guys think?
Yeah,
Okay, I'll
Yeah.
email you.
absolutely. Email me and we'll, yeah, let's put something together. I love it.
Great. Okay, see ya.
Awesome. Bye, Tyler.
Bye.
We're good. And we're adjourning at 9:32. It was a fast meeting.
That's great. You're just rapid fire. I probably don't have to tell you that.